Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this legal education content, and today is the day I earned that subscription. Well, I hope you are all just having the most wonderful of Fridays, and everything is going just wonderfully in your life, as it is in mine. My life continues to get a little bit brighter every day as the uncivil law business continues to unfold. Yes, it is coming along nicely as I transition from Uncivil Law into Uncivil Law LLC. And the process of transitioning continues and goes well. So I'm very pleased by that. So all steam ahead. And I'm very happy about that. And I'm happy that all of you are here as well to help me on this journey so that I can bring you this wonderful quality legal education as a full-time endeavor. With your support, and only with your support, incidentally, this becomes possible, and it is very, very much appreciated, each and every one of you who helps to support the channel, including, not insignificantly, the uncivilians, who, but for a mere 99 cents a month, literally the least YouTube will let me charge you, helps to provide a steady set of revenues. So if you've not already done so, could I encourage you to hit the join button or hit the link that the bot tells you about from time to time, or it's in the description of every video. And if you click those links, if you click the join button, or you click the link, or you click the thing the bot tells you about, you can join for a mere 99 cents and help to support the channel on a continuing basis. And it is super appreciated, all that good stuff. So we have a bit of a smorgasbord of stories, things we didn't otherwise get to during the week. And we're going to just go ahead and get started with one of them right away. All right, Kamala Harris, our vice president, has blasted the activist Supreme Court after the Dobbs decision. Kamala Harris has said the Supreme Court is an activist body. Now, I'm not sure she knows what an activist court is, because it was an activist court that created Roe in the first place. They basically declined to be activists. It's kind of the opposite of that. They're an originalist court, not an activist court, but, you know, what are details between friends? Vice President Kamala Harris has said the Supreme Court is activist after the reversal of Roe versus Wade. She made her comments during the interview with NBC's Meet the Press. Why is it every time she opens her mouth, she just seems less and less well-informed to me? She says, "I think this is an activist court," Harris said. "We had an established right for almost half a century, which is the right of women to make decisions about their own bodies." See, that's the problem. That's exactly the problem, Kamal. The problem is it a decision about their own body? That is exactly the problem. Abortion activists have said, my body, my choice. But my body is an issue that's in dispute when it comes to abortion. Is it your body? Is it? Anyways, make decisions about their own body as an extension of what we have decided to be, the privacy to which all are entitled. Again, this isn't really about privacy in so much as anything else, but, you know, okay. Harris went on to say the Supreme Court took away the right for women to make a decision about their body. Again, whether or not it is their body is much in dispute. And added, we are suffering as a nation because of it. Are we? We're suffering as a nation because of it? I mean, okay. I mean, I thought maybe we were suffering as a nation because of the inflation. I thought maybe we were suffering as a nation because of the shelves being empty and supply chain problems. I thought we were suffering as a nation because of woeful problems with the economy, but apparently it's this. Well, that clears that right up. While previously being inspired by people like Thurgood Marshall, if she's inspired by Thurgood Marshall would probably have to have words like "keep my name out of your mouth," I would think. She is not in Thurgood Marshall's league. While previously being inspired by people like Thurgood Marshall and others on major Supreme Court cases such as Brown versus Boyd, the current actions of the court make her have grave concern about the integrity of the court overall. Because they don't reach the decisions you like, This is the thing that I find a little bit interesting about it, and where I get a lot of the schadenfreude of the whole thing, because the left has been in control of the court for a very, very, very long time, right? Arguably since the New Deal, the left has been in control of the court, depending on how you count such things. And so, you know, all that, and yeah, you know, that's good times. Harris has previously said the Biden administration will not let the filibuster stand in our way on issues such as protecting abortion rights during a meeting of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in July. And yet we must recognize that there are those who are fighting to drag us backwards, Harris said. Extremist so-called leaders who are fighting to drag us backwards. Extremists, so-called leaders who are attempting to undermine our democracy and assault our most fundamental freedoms. The right of abortion is one of the most fundamental freedoms. It's right up there with freedom of speech and the right to keep and bear arms, I'm sure. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, President Biden said that Congress needed to take action to codify Roe v. Wade, but says he can't do it by executive action. Yeah, he also said he couldn't forgive people's student loans by executive action. Also, Nancy Pelosi said President Biden couldn't do it by executive action, but then they did it anyway. So give it 2 years and see what they change their mind to next week. Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a women's right to choose the balance that has existed is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe versus Wade, Biden said. No executive action from the president can do that. Again, they said the same thing about the whole, like, forgiving people student loans thing. So I don't know about any of that. So yeah. Okay. Well, that is one story right off the bat for our Friday night roundup. So let me just say hello to some people as people have been popping into the chat. Hello, A. Hedinger. Hello, it's Trenton. Hello, Michael. Hello, Kelly. Dark Logic. Digger. Amanda. Mini Engines. Dead Snake. SB in Tennessee. Sadie. Gwen Thompson. MG Baby Dragonlet. Bill. Jill Mack. DCP. Arif. Bill, Giddy, Gwen, Johnny, Brenda, Hamilton, SR, Marie, Dead Snake. Thank you all for being part of the Uncivilian channel. As always, we do appreciate each and every one of you who are here. As we look through our updated list of who the Uncivilians are, as we transition into our second story. I updated this list today, so this should be current, as of this morning at least, for all the Uncivilians, and we do appreciate every name that's on the list because it helps the channel to exist. The Justice Department, unsurprisingly, has asked the judge to lift a block on Trump documentation investigation. So as we decided, shouldn't the filibuster be scrutinized in major questions theory? No. Major questions theory. Major questions theory is a theory that Congress okay, let me try and make sure I get this right. Major questions theory deals with the proper interpretation of a statute. The idea is, if you are interpreting a statute, that if you have ambiguity in a statute, if you have language that would allow for a more open reading, one of the limiting principles that you might have is this thing called the major question doctrine. So the idea is, I'm reading a statute and I want to interpret what a clause means, and I want to interpret what otherwise seems like broad grant of authority, but it might have a limitation the text doesn't imply. So for example, let's suppose a piece of legislation says, I don't know, that the CDC can order any measure that would protect the health. And the CDC orders a measure that would seem that could arguably be done to protect the health, but would be really extreme, like the rent moratorium, right? So the language didn't really allow for this, right? The CDC didn't have language this broad. But if it had language this broad, right? So the thing that limited the thing that limited the CDC's rent moratorium was they didn't even have language this broad in the first place, right? Their language said you could destroy articles, sanitize articles, you could prevent the shipment of diseased articles and other stuff, right? There was nothing in there that was anything like a rent moratorium. It didn't have broad language. But let's suppose it did have broader language, right? The CDC can order anything for the public health. It's like, okay, that's pretty broad. How about a rent moratorium? So the major questions doctrine is a doctrine that is used to limit the scope of what otherwise might seem really open language. And the idea is that Congress doesn't hide mountains in sort of molehills, right? Congress, if it's going to give power to do something of sufficient weight, it has to do so clearly, right? We're not going to allow really broad language to encompass really serious things unless Congress specifically included it. So we're not going to interpret the and other stuff to allow for really important things unless Congress speaks to it clearly. So that's the major question doctrine. It's a statutory interpretation mechanism. The filibuster doesn't come into that at all, because the filibuster has nothing to do with a statute. The filibuster is part of the internal rules of the U.S. Senate. And so you're not trying to interpret a statute. The filibuster itself is just a procedural mechanism that the Senate has created. So the major question doctrine has no relevance to whether or not the filibuster should exist, because Congress isn't granting the executive power to filibuster. They aren't creating a statute. It's just a power that the legislature has of its own accord. So the major question doctrine doesn't come into play. So hopefully that makes sense. And thank you for your question. It was a very detailed question. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Going back to the Justice Department. The Justice Department has asked a federal judge on Thursday to revisit her decision to temporarily stop prosecutors from gaining access to classified documents seized from former President Donald Trump's Florida home, arguing her ruling was hindering the government's effort to determine whether national security had been compromised. In a pair of filings in federal court, lawyers for the department announced their intention to appeal key parts of the decision, which they can do, because this is an injunction. And you can appeal injunctions. It's one of the things that you can appeal in an interlocutory fashion. So they could send it to the 11th Circuit if they wanted to. They said that they would ask the appeal court to block sections of her order if she does not agree to do so by next Thursday. So they're giving her a chance to revise, and then if not, they're going to seek appeal. Okay. The judge's order issued on Monday has prevented the department from using the documents, some marked as highly classified, in the investigation into Mr. Trump's handling of sensitive government documents. In the ruling, the judge said she planned to appoint an independent arbiter, known as a special master. Yeah, that's right. To sift through the more than 11,000 documents and 1,800 other items the FBI seized during the court-authorized search last month of Mr. Trump's property at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, by the way, because people keep asking me if I have Zelle, because people like, can I give you money through Zelle? Then yes, you can. You can send it to business@uncivillawllc.com if you want. Stephanie just sent me a message about the charity stream, and Stephanie says, for a charity stream, let's announce you're splitting it 50-50 for my charity, thyroid cancer awareness, and half for Secret Mixed Squirrel. I can't really do that unless I just arbitrarily change the charity in the middle of the stream, but I can't split it like 50-50 because it's never going to go through me. It's never going to touch my hands. It's the way that YouTube does charity, like you can designate the charity, and all the donations, all the super chats go straight to the charity. So it never goes through me. So I suppose I could say for the first 6 hours it will be one charity, and for the second 6 hours it will be a different charity. And also the charities have to be approved by YouTube, and they aren't all approved. So thyroid cancer awareness. So I assume Be the Match is the charity you want to support for the charity stream. Stephanie, if so, Be the Match has been approved because I did get that manually approved early. So let me know about which charity if you want, and if not, then we'll Thika. All right, let's take a look at that. Let me do that now while I'm thinking about it. Thika, Thyroid Cancer Survivors Association. All right, let me see. I'm going to have to ask for permission. Let me go ahead and do that now. We'll figure out later. Too late. I'm already in the middle of it, and I don't want to let the thought go by. Monetization, details. See. Add fundraiser. What would I like to do? Create fundraiser. Which profit am I doing? Thika is not approved. Okay, so let's see. Thika. Let's see. Okay, tax ID. Okay, great. You're a 501c3, so I can get approved. I can ask for approval. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, request nonprofit, which would I like to do? THYCA. They're not listed on GuideStar. THYCA. Oh, yes, they are. Thika Thyroid Cancer Survivors Association. Hold on. Thyroid Association. American Thyroid Association? Is that the same thing? Thyroid Cancer Survivors Association. No, it's not. Thika. Thyroid Cancer. It's not listed. Why is it not coming up at all? No results found. Why is it not popping up? Thika Thyroid Cancers Association. I see them right here under GuideStar. Why are they not popping up as a possibility? Not listed. Not listed. No results found. Why is it not found? Be requested by creator, be a registered 501c3 charity, be opted into online fundraising via GuideStar. Are they not opted into online fundraising? We couldn't find any articles. They might not be opted into online fundraising, Stephanie. How do you feel about the American Thyroid Association? Okay. They're not listed, but at least I can request them. Oh, Thika is 94 out of 100 on a Charity Navigator. Reputable charity. I don't know why they're not popping up as an option inside of YouTube. Okay. Let's go back to the story. It takes time for these to be approved. That's why I'm wanting to get it right away. Because if it's not approved, I can't do it as a charity, and that's not good. All right, where were we? Okay. In the ruling, she said she planned to appoint an arbiter. Okay, we read that part. Prosecutors asked the judge to allow investigators to continue using the classified records, a discrete set of just over 100 documents, and to withhold them from the special master. Okay. The department, in forcible and foreboding language, argued that determining national security implications of Mr. Trump's retention of the documents was so intertwined with its criminal investigation that carrying out separate risk assessment was impossible under the conditions imposed by the court. The Justice Department lawyers complained that the judge's order was impeding efforts to determine whether there might be additional classification records that are not being properly stored, and noted that the search had recovered empty folders marked as classified, whose contents may have been lost or compromised. In order on Thursday evening, the judges directed Mr. Trump's lawyers to respond to the government's filing by Monday. An affidavit accompanying the filing, the Alan Kohler, $49.99 from RSU and INV. Can't listen live, but wanted to thank you for sharing your legal analysis. Well, thank you very much for your super chat. It's people like you that make this channel possible. Thank you very, very much. Department lawyers wrote that uncertainty regarding the bounds of the court's order and its implication for the activities of the FBI have caused the intelligence community, in consultation with DOJ, to pause temporarily the critically important work. Okay. If they say so. I'm not so sure about all that, but okay. The department did not contest appointing a special master to sift through documents and photographs not marked as classified, nor did it challenge the judge's order preventing investigators from working with those files until they were cleared by a special master, although it said it disagreed with that part of the decision. Instead, prosecutors asked the judge to grant them immediate access only to classified material, arguing that a ruling had been based on concerns about Trump's personal materials, including medical and financial records that were swept up in the search. The classification markings established on the face of the documents, they are government records, not Plante's personal records. I mean, that's a fair point. That is a very fair point. So that seems like a very, very reasonable request to modify the judge's order. So I'd be very inclined to give that if I were the judge personally. So that makes total logical sense. Andrew Gibbons becomes an uncivilian. Thank you, Andrew, for hitting that beautiful join button. It's people like you that help the channel. You will become one of the heroes whose name will scroll this channel in future streams. And it is very, very much appreciated that you are here. Thank you. Okay. And we always want to make sure that we get Stephanie exactly what she needs because we care about her a lot. And so I appreciate everyone's patience as we tried to struggle through that. Because, like, well, when she mentioned the charity, I'm like, I want to make sure that that's possible. Because the nice thing about the donations through YouTube, right, if you get an approved charity, right, the nice things that's done is that 100% of the money goes to the charity. There is no cut by YouTube whatsoever, and the money never passes through my hands at all, right? So it never touches my hands in any way, YouTube pays all the fees and all the costs. 100% goes straight to the charity. So it is really clean that way. It's like, I don't want to touch the money, right? I don't want to touch the money. So I just want to be able to give it directly to the charity. And the nice thing about if you can get it as an approved charity is that everything is taken care of and just, automatically done. So yeah, we want to make sure that that's all done. And so we can make that happen. And so we're looking forward to that. And we are tentatively scoring that for the 30th. That would be 3 weeks from today. So we're looking at a 12-hour stream. That's my working plan. Tentative is 3 hours from 3 weeks from today. And it would be something like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 12 hours. And we'll have guest spots. And hopefully we'll have some murder mystery role-playing and all kinds of stuff. Didn't we do that for charity before? Yes. We did it for Be the Match, which also had to be specially approved. But yes, we've done it before with charities as well. So that's one of the nice things is like, because if you can do it, it doesn't touch your hands. All right. Let's read this other thing. Judges dismissed a Trump lawsuit against Clinton DNC officials involved in the Russia probe. So Trump is trying to sue various people for the whole Steele dossier and everything. But, problems. That should be easy for you. Some days you stream that much already. Sometimes a little bit, yeah. A federal judge has dismissed former President Trump's lawsuit against Hillary Clinton, the Democratic National Committee, and a number of other high-profile figures involved in creating the narrative that he and the 2016 presidential campaign were colluding with Russia. Trump filed a lawsuit in March in the Southern District of Florida alleging that Clinton and cohorts orchestrated an unthinkable plot and maliciously conspired to weave a false narrative that Trump was colluding with Russia. This week, the U.S. District Judge threw out the lawsuit, saying that most of Trump's claims were unsupported by legal authority and the lawsuit lacked substance. The judge said Trump's lawsuit is not attempting to seek redress for legal harm, but instead is seeking to flaunt a 200-page political manifesto outlining his grievances against those who have opposed him, and this court is not an appropriate forum. I don't know about all that, but okay. The Trump lawyer told Fox News Friday the former president's attorneys plan to appeal. We vehemently disagree with the courts today. Not only is it rife with erroneous applications of law, it disregards a number of independent governmental investigators which substantiate our claim the defendants conspired to falsely implicate our client. I mean, defamation would be like your go-to, right? I mean, if they're conspiring to generate false claims and they know that, I mean, defamation, right? So, yeah, I mean, all that. So they're planning on appeal that. So, yeah, I don't know why they dismissed, but that's what sounds what's going on. Okay, let's do another one. All right, here was a little one that was a twofer. The son of Lori Vallow, who we are following, of course, as part of the Chad Daybell Lori Vallow extravaganza, had been charged with sexual assault. The charges have since been dropped. And this is like how all happened in the last 2 days, right? So this article's like from 2 days ago where he was charged. This article's from today where the charges were dropped. But first, let's read the article where he was charged about that. Yeah. The son of Lori Vallow, the Idaho mom accused of killing 2 of her children, had been charged, because the charges have been dropped, with some prurient assault. Colby Jordan Ryan, of 26, was arrested Saturday in Mesa, Arizona, after his estranged wife accused him of pruriently assaulting her in the home. And the charges have been dropped already. The surviving son of Lori Vallow, the Idaho mother accused of killing 2 of her younger children. So I suppose in some sense, Colby over here does not have to ask himself the question, which of her mom's children does she love the best? Colby does not have to wonder which of her children she loves the best. Clearly, it's Colby, because he's still alive. So, that's good for him. The surviving son of Lori Vallow, the Idaho mother accused of killing her other children, has been charged, or had been charged, more to the point, with prurient assault, according to police records. Colby Ryan, 26, was arrested Saturday after his estranged wife accused him of pruriently assaulting her in their home. The victim, who had not been identified, told officers that Ryan came to her home Wednesday to watch television. The pair are separated and do not live together. The woman told police the two engaged in consensual kissing, but she didn't want to have prurient interactions with him. The woman told Ryan several times to stop, but he inappropriately touched her and then forcibly, pruriently interacted with her, according to the probable cause statement. Afterwards, Ryan apparently told his wife he was sorry and started to cry. The following day, the woman recorded a conversation with Ryan, who apparently allegedly admitted to the inappropriate touching and forcible prurient assault. During a recorded conversation, the defendant agreed that he had pruriently assaulted the victim. That's way more evidence than you normally have, so I don't know what went wrong there, but whatever. Detectives also said that Ryan made verbal admissions during a police interview, and he had been charged with 2 counts of prurient assault. But as I mentioned, the charges against him have been dropped without prejudice. Here's a picture of Colby Ryan, who has definitely got his workout on. Colby Ryan, the son of Lori Vallow, was released from jail Friday, and charges against him were dismissed without prejudice. Ryan, 26, was booked into Arizona on Saturday on 2 counts of prurient assault. A woman he had been having a relationship with said that he had pruriently assaulted her when the couple was watching TV. A spokeswoman with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office confirmed that prurient assault charges have been dropped, but the case remains open. The case is under review of our office. The dismissal was without prejudice, which allows us to refile charges. Ryan had been scheduled to appear in court on September 13th, but of course the hearing has been canceled. So I'm not sure exactly why it was canceled and not, but it's in some sense I'm glad it is, because it's just one more thing I did not need in this bizarre picture of this trial. There's just too many things going on already, man. It's just one more thing I do not need. So in some sense, I'm happy, because I do not need another card in my string together bulletin board trying to determine the relationships of these people, because it is just that complicated. But that was what was going on. All right. In political news, South Carolina Democrats have called for a U.S. Senate candidate to drop out after video comments were leaked. The South Carolina Democrats condemned comments made by their own candidate. South Carolina Democrat candidate for U.S. Senate, Crystal Matthews, is facing call to resign from her own party after controversial comments leaked. This would be good. South Carolina State Representative Matthews, running against incumbent Republican Tim Scott, was caught on tape speaking disparagingly of her constituents, specifically white constituents, in a series of remarks secretly recorded by the activist group Project Veritas. Project Veritas off to the rescue. "You ought to know who you're dealing with," Matthews said during the taped conversation. "You've got to treat them like shit. That's the only way they'll respect you." Speaking of her own constituents, you got to treat them like shit. In her leaked comments, Matthews additionally brags about keeping citizens in her jurisdiction under her thumbs and not putting up with white shit. I'm not sure why the Democratic Party wants her to resign. She just sounds like a typical Democrat to me. Matthews confirmed to the Associated Press that it was her voice on tape, but said the edited audio of a tongue-in-cheek exchange did not reflect the full picture, calling Project Veritas a satirical, MAGA-powered news outlet. Sure, that's what's going on. On Thursday, Democrats, including gubernatorial nominee Joe Cunningham, concurred with State Representative Justin Branberg, who in an op-ed called the comments toxic. Wow, the Democrats do have standard after all. That's nice. If any of our white counterparts had said the same thing with regard to blacks, the minority community, including myself, would be up in arms. Oh my God, they're applying a consistent standard. I didn't even know that was possible anymore. If any of our white counterparts had said the same thing about blacks, we'd be upset. So we should be upset. Wow. Consistency. My mind is blown. The secretly recorded audio also featured more of Matthews' conversation, in which she spoke to an inmate about funding her campaign with dope boy money and having Democrats run as Republicans, saying secret sleepers represent the only way you're going to change the dynamics in South Carolina. Okay. State Senator Brad Hutto, the Democrat leader in the chamber, who was also the party's nominee to challenge Lindsey Graham, echoed Cunningham's comments about Matthews' Senate bid, telling the AP, when candidates of either party start to make irresponsible statements beyond what party they're from, they need to reevaluate their candidacy, and that's what needs to happen here. Yeah, so that's interesting in South Carolina. The Democrats apparently have decided that double standards are lame and actually are holding one of their own to a standard. It's amazing. Okay, let's wrap up because I know we're running into Rob from Law and Lumber, and I don't want to overstretch my time too much. I assume he's just warming up, and I might actually appear on his show tonight too. I don't know, we'll see, but I wanted to I don't want to overlap too much, and we are overlapping a little bit. So let's wrap up this story. We got a couple more stories before we wrap up. We'll try to get through them relatively quick. The D.C. sniper, Lee Boyd Malvo, has to be resentenced. This was a couple years back with the D.C. sniper shootings. Lee Malvo was 17 years old when the crimes were committed. That's the key. And he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, which the Supreme Court would later say is not a thing you can do without saying with respect to juveniles, without ruling that they're specially incorrigible. So they have to be resentenced to determine whether that's true. It doesn't really matter practically, but because they're wanted in, he's already been convicted in multiple states, so he's never getting out of jail no matter what happens. But for the sake of legal purism, we're gonna fix this. So nearly 2 decades after the serial sniper spree that terrorized Washington, D.C. and left 10 people dead, the Maryland's appeal court ruled that Lee Boyd Malvo, who was convicted in his role, has to be resentenced. Malvo, who was 17 years old at the time the crimes was committed, was sentenced to life without parole both in Maryland and Virginia. So as I said, it doesn't really matter because he's no matter what happens, he has to serve his Maryland sentence before he even begins to serve his Virginia sentence, who has also sentenced him to life. So he's not getting out, right? But we're going to do this for the sake of legal purism. Do I happen to know what the state of the Critical K lawsuit is? I haven't covered that in a hot minute, but I need to get back into that because I forgot that. But yeah, there were some updates about that. I think it's still going on. Anyways, Malvo, who was 17 when the crimes were committed in 2002, he was sentenced to life without parole in both Maryland and Virginia. The Maryland Court of Appeals based its ruling on Friday on a Supreme Court guidance on juvenile offenders. This is the key. The Supreme Court, in decisions that occurred after his sentencing, held that life without parole for youthful offenders is not permitted under the Eighth Amendment if a sentencing court determines the offender's crime was a result of transient immaturity as opposed to permanent incorrigibility. And so there's some doubt as to whether or not that was true because they never asked those questions. So we have to send him back to determine whether or not it was a transient thing or whether or not he was just a temporary thing. But either way, it doesn't matter because he's, even assuming that he gets parole in Maryland ever, they just ship him right over to Virginia to begin his brand new life sentence in Virginia. Malvo's currently in the Red Onion State Prison in Virginia where he's serving life sentences. So actually the other way around. He'd first have to be granted parole in Virginia before his consecutive life sentence in Maryland's ever would begin. So he's currently in Virginia. So they're trying to determine how much sentence he has in Maryland. So yeah, if he ever gets out of Virginia, they'll send him over to Maryland to begin what may or may not be a life without parole sentence. Yeah, so he's not getting out of jail. Philip Estrada gives $5. He was a transient sniper? Seriously? Well, I don't know. That's the problem. The court never reached that determination. Right? We never reached a determination about whether it's a transient problem or he's permanently incorrigible. We never reached the question because we never bother asking. So I don't know. But that's why we're sentencing him back. According to the court, we hold the Eighth Amendment requires that he receive a new sentencing hearing at which the sentencing court, now cognizant of the principles elucidated by the Supreme Court, is able to consider whether or not he's constitutionally eligible for life without parole under the possibility of those decisions. Malvoy's partner in the shootings was executed in 2009 in Virginia. He was 41 at the time of the sniper attack. So his partner is dead. And he is determining about, well, if he ever starts serving the sentence in Maryland, is it life with parole or life without parole? So fun and exciting. It's the state Supreme Court. This was actually the Maryland Intermediate Court of Appeals. But yeah, basically, it's a state law issue. But they're citing to a U.S. Supreme Court decision. Right, so the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled that if you're they had ruled previously that if you're under the age of 18, you can't get the death penalty. And then they ruled that if you're under the age of 18, you can't be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole without this special finding. And so that didn't happen. And so the Maryland Intermediate Court of Appeals said, we need to resentence him. So, in light of the Supreme Court's of the United States' decision. So, that's what's going on there. So, yeah. All right, two more stories. Two more stories before we go over to Law and Lumber. For what I'm sure will be exciting times. And thank you, all of you, for your super chats and all your support. Brenda says you really like the hat. Well, thank you. I really like the hat, too. I appreciate each and every one of you here, and we appreciate that each and every one of you is here. Maria says, I must be behind because I'm at the part with the Democrat bashing. I wish you wouldn't do that, but it's your channel and you can do it as you wish. I'm just going to express my opinions. I mean, you know. So, on my channel, I'm going to express my point of view. That's my hot take. Okay. A Florida dentist accused of killing an ex-brother-in-law in a murder-for-hire plot has been denied pre-trial release. So the assistant murder-for-hire thing, not so much with Bond. Charlie Adelson accused of murder of the Florida State University professor. A Florida dentist accused of hiring hitman to murder his sister's ex-husband was denied his request for bond as the judge rules that prosecutors have ample evidence against him. The Florida judge, Robert Wheeler, rejected Adelson's bid for pretrial release during the hearing. Adelson's attorney had argued that Adelson should be cleared because he can be heard in a recorded conversation telling his ex-girlfriend, who has been convicted, that he has nothing to hide and he hopes it was the cops, an outlier reported. Well, the cops are definitely involved in some part of this, yes. Prosecutors have said Adelson worked with his ex-girlfriend and men who he allegedly hired to kill the Florida State University law professor, Danny Markelson, over 8 years ago. Don't murder law professors. That's not nice. Markel, a prominent lawyer, was on the heels of a contentious divorce with Adelson's sister, Wendy, when he was gunned down in his car. The pair had disagreed and sparred in court documents over certain issues, namely Wendy's relocation from Tallahassee to be closer to her family in South Florida. Tallahassee Police Department investigators said that Markel dropped his children off at daycare around 8:50 a.m., roughly 5 miles from his home, and then made his way to Premier Health and Fitness Center, where he arrived at around 9:12 a.m., according to a probable cause affidavit. Police found that Toyota Prius had followed Markel not only into the parking lot of the fitness facility, but was also trailing Markel's car before and after the time of the gym. Investigators believe the suspect in the Prius followed the victim throughout the morning and back to the residence, where the victim was shot in the head as he sat in his car. Markle's neighborhood heard what he believed to be gunshots and looked out the window, where he saw a small silver or light-colored vehicle resembling a Prius backing out of the victim's driveway. Markle was then rushed to a local hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Charles Anderson, age 45, was arrested in April 2022. After indictment, he's charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation. He's pled not guilty and has remained behind bars. So that's not going very well for him at all. And finally, our last story of the evening. The Supreme Court is still looking into the whole thing about how the Dobbs opinion got leaked. Justice Neil Gorsuch says he hopes the Supreme Court committee's report is finished soon. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch said Thursday he hopes investigation into Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization's draft opinion leak will be completed soon. It was his first public comment since the late June ruling striking down the nationwide constitutional right to abortion. Gorsuch spoke before a group of lawyers and judges Thursday at the 10th Circuit Judicial Conference. The Chief Justice appointed an internal committee to oversee the investigation, Gorsuch said. That committee has been busy, and we're looking forward to their report, I hope, soon. They do have their own police force, the Supreme Court marshals, so I'm not sure, how that's going, but I think they also had called in the FBI to look in some part, so I'm not sure how that's all going, but that's what's happening. Philip Saya gives $5 to say best recap. Thank you very much, Philip. That is very, very appreciated. I appreciate each and one of you who make it possible. I wonder if it was a clerk. It was probably a clerk. Someone's about to get disbarred, though. A majority draft opinion reflecting the High Court would in fact overturn Roe v. Wade was leaked. Chief Justice John Roberts ordered the court's marshal to conduct the internal investigation, but there's not been many updates, which, is not atypical for a law enforcement investigation, but that's what's going on. Multiple sources told Fox News investigations into approximately 70 individuals in the court who may have had access to the draft opinion have been narrowed. Sources have said much of the initial focus was focused on 36 or so law clerks who work directly with the justices. I mean, that is your most likely source. The Supreme Court at the time acknowledged the copy of the draft opinion was made public, but stressed it did not represent the decision by the court at that time. Following the leak, conservative justices on the bench began receiving threats and experienced protests outside their home. So yeah, that's what's going on. So apparently that is coming to an end. And if I could ask you to be so kind as to, before we end the stream, if I could direct your attention to the pinned comment of this stream. There is a link to help support Secret McSquirrel. Secret McSquirrel, as many of you know, has been suffering from cancer, as well as Stephanie. And we like to support people who are suffering from cancer. So if you would be so kind as to kindly direct your attention to the link above and click on it, and maybe throw Secret McSquirrel a couple bucks of support, so that, we can do it. Because Secret McSquirrel is the best moderator. Secret McSquirrel moderates basically all of LawTube chat, and I'm convinced is either a robot or a cabal or a group of people bent on some sort of LawTube overtake, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do to prevent it. So I've decided to embrace it instead and welcome my new Secret McSquirrel overlords, and I encourage you to support them in their time of need. So Kathleen 1999, thanks for all you do. I do appreciate it as well. Thank you. And 3 weeks from now, give or take, final details to be announced very soon, we will be having a charity stream which will go on for 12 hours, in which we will raise money for some sort of thyroid charity, also details to be pending. So, all that good stuff. So, I appreciate every one of you here. I appreciate all of you who are here and help to support the channel. And I'm just going to go ahead in the stream and send you to Law and Lumber's Way for a little bit of Friday recap. And I understand that's why you haven't put any videos up, Stephanie. I hope you will be back at it soon. And as always, if there's anything you need, please let us know and the community know. We do support you, and we hope that you get better, and we look forward to hearing more about how hopefully you'll get some doctors who actually give a damn about you, because that's been really upsetting, the problems you've had there. That's a bit of a bummer note to end the stream on, but you know, sometimes life isn't always kind. But I want to thank all of you who have been part of the stream. If you have not done so already, may I kindly direct your attention to the subscribe button. Is the subscribe button red? Perhaps you're not expecting it to be red. Perhaps you remember clicking on it before, but now it's red again. Well, if it is red, it is angry, and it is angry with you. But it is a very easy thing to fix, my friend. By merely clicking on the red subscribe button, the red subscribe button will become a gray, calm, integrated subscribe button, and it will be at peace. And that's what we all want. So help to be the change we want to see in the world by clicking that red subscribe button today. Don't forget to hit the like button, and don't forget to hit the join button from time to time. I'm going to send you to Law and Lumber. Please check him out. I might join him later as well this evening. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all is well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.